Is there something on this toilet seat?
Uh-oh, Dad, you just got gooped.
Ugh.
This is Bob's Burgers. It's a show that dared to be different. One that took the idea of a family sitcom and asked one very important question. What if the family actually loved each other? It's a simple concept that, after more than 200 episodes, has proven to stand the test of time. But which one of those episodes is truly the best? For us, there's only one answer.
I'm on a cheese cleanse, physically and spiritually.
Since Bob's Burgers is such a beloved staple for sitcom fans, a lot of people have varying opinions on which episode of Bob's Burgers is the best. There are individual episodes that are arguably funnier, more emotionally impactful, or more enjoyable to rewatch than others. But there's a difference between a great episode of TV and a great episode of Bob's Burgers. A great episode of Bob's needs to do more than entertain. It needs to encapsulate the themes and feelings of the show overall. It needs to remain true to the characters and their personalities. It needs to be just wacky enough to be comedic, yet totally believable. And finally, it needs to remind us why we love to tune in every week.
When I was young and naive, I would have said arson, but I'm gonna go with voodoo.
I like arson.
Just like you tune in every week for more content on this channel. If you're not already, please make sure you're subscribed to Nerdstalgic so you don't miss out on more videos like this one. Now, Bob's Burgers has always been a pretty traditional sitcom, showing a family in hilarious yet relatable situations that usually end with heartwarming lessons being learned. But there's more to it than that. The Belchers aren't your average middle-class American sitcom family with 2.5 kids and a suspiciously large living room. They're poor. They can't indulge in the kinds of grand activities that The Simpsons or The Griffins do on a fairly regular basis. And so by necessity, the world of Bob's Burgers has always been small, intimate, and they can't jet off to new locations or spend ridiculous amounts of money on gags for the sake of a joke in a single episode. Series creator Lauren Bouchard and the rest of the showrunners have consistently focused on the Belchers and their immediate community, putting an emphasis on the love this family has for one another and the kindness they show for their friends and neighbors.
Party loyalty? We're both registered Belchers.
I am a Belcher.
Yes, the farty party.
Their conflicts and indeed the viewer's entertainment come from problems that could plausibly arise in the real world. With that in mind, Season 6, Episode 19, Glued, Where's My Bob?, reigns supreme as the perfect episode of Bob's Burgers. The Season 6 finale begins, as one might expect, with the Belcher family working in their restaurant. It quickly establishes that Tina, Jean, and Louise are in the middle of a prank war, using things like toothpaste and guacamole to goop their siblings when they least expect it.
Bob's Burgers. Ah, it's all over my ear.
You just got gooped.
Grape jelly.
This is a pretty normal occurrence in the show. The Belcher kids spend most of their time playing together. It really demonstrates just how close they are and how they value each other's company. Normally, these games are used as little asides or excuses to have the kids look busy during scenes where they aren't the focus, but in this case, their prank war becomes pretty important later on. A surprise call from celebrity chef and friend of the family, Skip Marooch, propels the plot forward. It turns out that Skip recommended Bob's Burgers for a profile in a popular food magazine, and the journalist doing the interview will be there at 3 o'clock. Now, obviously, this would be a huge opportunity for a struggling mom-and-pop shop like Bob's Burgers, so the whole family focuses on making the day go as smoothly as possible. But then, well, nobody can really sum up what happens next better than Linda.
Bob had panic poops because the magazine is coming, and then Louise put some stuff you left in our basement on the toilet seat, and Bob sat in it and he got stuck.
Thanks to Louise, Bob spends basically the rest of the episode stuck on the restaurant toilet while increasingly wild things happen around him. Writers Stephen Davis and Kelvin Yu took this as an opportunity to provide viewers with cameos from some of their favorite side characters. Teddy leaves a much-needed therapy session to rush to Bob's aid. Gretchen shows up to do his hair in preparation for the interview. Jimmy Pesto is there to exploit the situation to the fullest, and even Dr. Yap makes an appearance. And in the middle of it all, there's a genuinely catchy and well-crafted musical sequence in which Louise works through her feelings of guilt for accidentally gluing her dad to a toilet. This is a particularly good moment from Louise, who ends up having the most prominent growth moment at the end of the episode. During the song, she's basically denying the part she played in ruining Bob's day and instead resolves to fix it so she doesn't have to apologize. This is pretty typical for Louise's character. She's hard-headed, stubborn, and doesn't like to show emotions, so her characterization really rings true.
You've been selected as the subject of my important person school essay.
Shut up.
Oh, don't tell me to shut up!
And the rest of the family isn't left out. Jean and Tina band together to help their dad. Linda tries her best to hold it together while Bob starts to break down, and the restaurant fills up with more and more people. The crowd is full of faces both foreign and familiar to us.
Whoa, cool shirt, man. What is that, marker?
Yeah, permanent.
It feels almost like a clip show in that we as viewers are reminded of all the previous episodes and funny moments we shared with these characters. It's represented in a unique and purely visual way that feels natural within the context of the show. At first, this seems like a classic case of comedic voyeurism. Everyone is just there to laugh at Bob's unfortunate predicament. In a bid to stay characteristically upbeat and positive, Linda muses,
Maybe this is good. When the guys from Coasters get here, all they're gonna see is a crowded restaurant.
but her words fall on deaf ears. Of course, all their plans to get Bob off the toilet fail. The journalists show up, snap a few pictures, ridicule Bob, and make it very clear that there will be no profile. The Belchers blew their shot at being in a magazine. It's a disappointment to be sure, but as Bob says,
This isn't a crazy day. This is a perfectly average day at Bob's Burgers. This kind of stuff happens all the time.
and that's true. We often have to watch the Belchers family maneuver through odd or embarrassing situations. Sometimes they're just minor annoyances, and sometimes they're life-changing missed opportunities. And as the journalists turn away, it looks like this instance will be the latter. But before the journalists can leave, Louise makes an impassioned speech about her dad and finally takes responsibility for her prank.
And if I hadn't done this, my dad would be walking around here right now, inspiring the crap out of people. He'd be making burgers. Really good burgers.
Inspired, the whole crowd rallies behind Bob with a sweet yet misguided chant, including Bob's enemy eternal, Jimmy Pesto.
I see a beautiful toilet. Man, a toilet Bob. Toilet Bob. Toilet Bob.
No, please don't chant that.
The journalists leave, having basically been pushed out of the restaurant, and Bob finally pulls himself free. Everyone cheers and applauds in a moment that manages to feel equally triumphant, awkward, and hilarious. And we fade away to 1 month later when Mike the mailman shows up with a copy of Coasters magazine. Surprise, surprise, they're in it. Bob reads the surprisingly good coverage of the restaurant and participates in the kids' goop prank war for one last laugh before the credits roll. As the 100th episode of the show to be produced, Glued Where's My Bob was always meant to be special. Bouchard once said,
We wanted the 100th in a way to feel like it almost could have been the first.
and they succeeded with that goal. This episode fits perfectly into the pantheon of great Bob's Burgers episodes because the writers and showrunners stayed grounded in what's most important. The show's themes, characters, and comedy are all perfectly implemented and expertly amplified in a way that's befitting of a season finale. We see the love the Belcher family has for one another with the kids' prank war and Louise's arc of guilty acceptance. We see the kindness of people like Teddy and Gretchen who show up to help without expecting anything in return. We see the community come together in the end to support their friend, neighbor, and local small business. And we got to see Bob glued to a toilet. Love, kindness, community, and pure dumb fun. That's what Bob's Burgers is about at its core. That's why we tune in every week. And no episode exemplifies it better than Glued Where's My Bob? And that's all we got for you today. Thanks so much for watching the video all the way through. If you liked what you saw, be sure to subscribe to Nerdstalgic and hit the thumbs up button. And while you're down there, let us know in the comments, what's your favorite episode of Bob's Burgers?